And next, we will hear our third speaker that will raise the issue of intersectionality. I think this is very relevant also to our society. We have Dr. Zoe Harley that will deliver her presentation. The proposed topic is eradicating intersectional gender discrimination in the education sector and question of technology enhanced learning. Dr. Zoe is the Assistant Dean for Student Affairs in the College of Communication and Media Sciences at the Zayed University, Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Originally from United Kingdom, she earned her PhD in Technology Enhanced Learning from Lancaster University, UK. And after growing up in London, Dr. Zoe has spent her adult professional life in the global south and has worked in Malaysia, Brunei, Kuwait, and United Arab Emirates. Dr. Zoe also teaches undergraduate courses in social media, and her research developed intersectional feminist theorizing of technology, enhanced learning, and the post-digital condition. She also has published articles in leading academic journals, including New Media and Society, Feminist Media Studies, Social Media and Society, Information Communication and Society, Post-Digital Science and Education, and Visual Communication, and I think many things. All right, we can hear the presentation from Dr. Zoe now. So the next 10 minutes is yours.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that introduction. And yeah, good afternoon to everybody, to all our honoured attendees. And thank you very much to the other speakers for raising some important issues that I think I'll also be echoing. So as I was introduced, I teach at Zayed University in the United Arab Emirates. But I'm delighted to be here on behalf of the Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan Foundation to discuss the crucial topic of eradicating discrimination in the education sector. Education is one of the Khalifa Foundation's top priorities, and it's an organization which strives to support deprived communities, as well as to promote gender equality and inclusion for disabled children. Examples of the foundation's initiatives include building of the Sheikh Khalifa Secondary Co-ed School in Mombasa, Kenya. And this is a school which is currently ranked top in their region and 25th in the country. Another example is the partnering with the UN's Relief and Works Agency in Gaza, where the Khalifa Foundation provide critical support and funding for 2 schools. This investment in co-education is crucial, since we know that boys are also at risk of not completing secondary school. Nevertheless, as the previous speakers have highlighted, it is girls who are generally the victims of gender discrimination. So my work, teaching and research focuses on the role of technology-enhanced learning in girls' and women's empowerment. To outline the issues of gender inequality today, I will talk about technology-enhanced learning, or TEL, and its impacts on the intersectional challenges facing women and girls, as well as precisely what do we mean by empowerment, since empowerment is such a fuzzy term with varying definitions and implications. I will briefly make the case for a gender capabilities approach and discuss a snapshot of a case study. And I will also offer some take-homes and recommendations. Now, as everyone is aware, COVID-19 has been a global disruptor that has seriously impacted and deepened already existing disparities. In education, the shift to the emergency delivery of online courses was assumed as relatively painless in some contexts. And this is, those contexts where there is high-speed internet access, high rates of mobile phone and laptop ownership. And big tech has profited enormously during this period and seems to be ushering in a new paradigm of technology-enhanced learning. However, and conversely, in other contexts where there are deep-seated gender inequalities, limited access to Wi-Fi, hardware, and consistent access to electricity, the situation was, of course, very, very different. And as an example, I recently visited Socotra, Yemen, and the photograph that you can see before you was taken at a university in Socotra, Yemen. And my job was to advise young women university students on becoming social media entrepreneurs. But after being there just for a few days, I quickly realized the naivety of my advice, considering the limited Wi-Fi connectivity in Socotra, Yemen, and the deep gender disparities of their context. So I therefore emphasize how important it is to appreciate that the digital divide is not only about tech infrastructure and mobile devices, but it's also a matter of cross-cutting systemic intersectional gender inequalities. Gender inequalities, as the previous speakers have highlighted, are embedded into technology. Gender inequalities are embedded into learning environments and also the home. Domestic and public spheres are gendered places which continue to be shaped by patriarchal ideologies and enduring misogyny. However, there's actually nothing new about any of this. And the notion of the girl effect, which is the idea that investment in education, skills, and labor of young women is the key to stimulating economic growth and reducing poverty in the global south, is something that people have been talking about for decades. For the last 2 decades at least, investing in female empowerment has been a development strategy of the World Bank, the IMF, and part of the corporate global responsibility agenda of corporations such as Nike and Goldman Sachs. It reflects the broader rise of discourses surrounding gender equality and women's empowerment as development objectives. The UN Development Programme's publication of the Gender-Related Development Index and the Gender Empowerment Measure since 1995 in its annual Human Development Report, arguably have had a profound impact in raising attention on gender inequality in international policy debates. Okay, nevertheless, the categories of measurement used to define women and girls' empowerment across a wide and very varying range of contexts has tended to routinely operate according to universal definitions of women's rights. And this fails to include important non-economic and intersectional dimensions of decision-making power, both at the household level and over women and girls' bodies, sexuality, learning, and technology. Alternatively, the capabilities approach highlights the intersectional gender factors which impact on learning. The feminist philosopher Martha Nussbaum's capabilities approach includes the categories of social, political, economic, intellectual, and physical functions of gender flourishing. In terms of technology-enhanced learning, it's crucial to remember that although technologies are assumed to be neutral, they contain inherent biases of the societies that design and produce them. But the gender capabilities framework is really useful because it links women and girls situated opportunities and freedoms from a normative starting point of functions that could be and should be developed to expand potentially more empowering capabilities. Now, in terms of TEL specifically, online philosopher Penelope Rush argues that in the 21st century, we need to update our understanding of foundational concepts in the online learning environment. And this includes ideas about presence, about personalization, self-presentation, as well as different understandings about mind, self, and others. So therefore, Rush is advocating for discontinuous or disruptive theorizing to challenge the presumed continuity between traditional concepts and their relevance to the digital online learning sphere. So I would argue that we need to do the same when thinking about gender, intersectional factors, and technology-enhanced learning. We need to be asking the crucial question of how technology can be developed to promote empowering gender capabilities. And this requires a series of collective and situated practices for expanding women's opportunities, rights, and gender equality. To illustrate very briefly how intersectional gender functions could be discussed, I share this snapshot of a case study involving female students from my university in the UAE who have physical and intellectual disabilities, who met with leaders, educational leaders and ministers to discuss a range of issues and suggest solutions for capabilities to be developed in their context. And these were some of the takeaways from this case study that came out of these discussions and the perspectives of a range of stakeholders. But the point here is not the specific issues raised at this event and in this case, but the importance of situated dialogue and the promotion of women's voices and perspectives. And so some of the other speakers before me spoke about the importance of amplifying women's voices. And I would say, amplifying underrepresented women, women who have physical and intellectual disabilities. We need to take their voice and perspective seriously and train them to be able to participate in civic space. So in summary, implications of the TEL gender capabilities approach suggest that, as the other speakers have mentioned, we need investment, not just in technology, but in teacher training and pedagogies that will bring about gender equality. And this should not necessarily be funded by the tech companies themselves, because they have a vested interest in their products being disseminated throughout the education system globally. And we also need strong policies that promote gender equity and inclusivity. And we need strong checks and legislation to monitor the tech platforms and to monitor how the resources are being implemented within all levels of schooling. And there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution to this for TEL or for pedagogy. They need to be contextualized. And I would say this is the same in terms of physical capabilities. So our assistive technologies and learning spaces need to be made more inclusive, safer, and more productive of empowering capabilities for the learners involved. And in terms of the intellectual capabilities, we need to provide more opportunities for collaboration, and we need to train people with disabilities or people suffering gender oppression how to voice and articulate these issues, and also develop more situated initiatives. So the take homes from this are that neither economic funds, technology enhanced learning, gender empowerment, or inclusivity quotas alone are sufficient. Each of these things is important, but they're not enough in and of themselves. So TEL gender capabilities should be allowed to emerge and applied according to context. We need to start thinking about technology in blended terms, not that there's a division between offline or online. We don't need to choose one or the other. So we need to be thinking much more about the blended learning spaces and how they intersect. And above all, we need to really be listening to the voices and perspectives of underrepresented women and girls. But we also need to address the systemic root causes of global social inequalities arising from debt, from unregulated platform marketplaces and patriarchal ideologies. So with the world leaders preparing to meet, the upcoming G20 is a key moment for them to support gender quality education by transforming educational systems, particularly those in needy contexts, and by providing safe, equitable learning for all. We need to move forward in a much quicker way to remove the barriers that stand between women and girls and their fundamental right to a good education. Okay, thank you.